Bharat Electronics is also in news.
Yes, Shweta, Bharat Electronics, the stock was up about 3% in today's trade. Now, Bharat Electronics has bagged multiple orders worth 3,000 crore. Now, the biggest order came from Cochin Shipyard of about 2,119 crores. Other than that, they have also bagged multiple contracts of about 886 crore. As a result, the stock has, seen some buying interest. It was up about 3.24% at 9:45 a.m. this morning. In fact, Bharat Electronics has been one of the stocks that has been rallying for the past 4 or 5 months. Shweta, it is up about 40% in that time period. So again, Mohit, what's your outlook on the stock, especially given the fact that the stock has seen a significant run up in the recent months?
Oh, absolutely. I think defense stocks have been on fire. In fact, the entire PSU pack has been on fire, and there's no holding them back. To be very honest, across the board, you track any defense stock, whether it's BEL, HAL, the shipyard companies, everything has been literally up 30, 40, 50% in last 6 odd months, right? Look, I think the policy environment is extremely favorable. The noise around is extremely favorable. The Make in India theme has been working extremely strong for them. Government has been trying to localize the manufacturing of defense equipments to a large extent. The order books are extremely heavy. Just case in point being Bharat Electronics, where I think the next year order book is almost to the tune of 14,800 or 15,000 odd crores, which is massive with the kind of revenue numbers which they have been reporting year on year, right? And the growth on revenue and PAT both has been extremely healthy and extremely strong. Only concern in this pack, honestly, the story is extremely good. And with a fairly long-term view, given that the Make in India boost continues and everything continues the way it is, I think these are very strong franchises. But the only concern area, Shweta and Suyesh, is the valuation part. Look, to be very honest, getting it at a valuation of 8 times book right now on BEL. You require a heart of steel to do that, and in a frenzied market level, you have to honestly wait for good entry points. I'm not saying these are bad franchises; these are fantastic franchises for long term. But perhaps at a right price, this will make much more sense.
All right, so perhaps.
In fact, that has been a story with a lot of PSU stocks,
including HAL for that matter. HAL is also in news today. Is also up on the back of fresh contracts that it has received.
Yes, so Defence Acquisition Council has approved the procurement of 12 SU 30 MKI aircraft as well as avionic upgradations for Dornier aircraft. As a result, we saw HAL rally about 1.6% in today's morning trade. And going back to the PSU stocks and the defense stocks.
Defense in particular, I think it's a very important, interesting story that is unfolding in India. There is a lot of positive sentiment about Make in India, but also procuring and self-reliance as far as defense equipment is concerned. And perhaps that could be the reason why, Mohit, all of these stocks have rallied almost 30 to 40% in the last 1 year.
And a lot of them have turned multi-baggers. So perhaps the fact that these orders coming in from the government will bolster their order book has already been priced in, or at least in the short term, can we see some more upside? Or what is your advice, Mohit, as far as defense stocks are concerned at this point in time?
Look, honestly, the orders are all pouring in. Every second day, we get to hear the order books being jacked up because of some new order or something, and there is a lot of action and activity happening around in this area. Plus, we have to also understand India, the way it is geopolitically located and centered. It will always have huge defense requirements, right? So we recently heard of some lot of projects being announced on the India-China border area, so on and so forth, and plus localizing of defense is as a very strong theme, and government has been actively trying to pursue that. My only concern is the execution part of these orders. Historically, also we have seen huge order books for these companies. Though this time around, I think the signals are fairly strong, and they have been showing huge revenue growths and PAT growths year on year. All these companies, and they're also trying and expanding capacity. Plus, there is a lot of knowledge transfer which is happening from foreign partnerships and foreign MOUs which the government is signing to kind of boost the local R&D and the local manufacturing part of it. So yes, the story is different. It's just about the valuations and getting them at the right value. But then one can always argue and say that these are great franchises growing at great speeds, and you might not ever find that wishful right valuation for these companies. So one has to just take a plunge someday. It's a leap of faith in my mind. Over a very long term, obviously these will be multi-bagger stories. These will produce great returns. And for the interim period of next 1 to 3 years, one has to be very, very patient. If the news flow continues to be extremely positive around, perhaps they'll continue to give some nominal returns. But expecting superlative returns from these levels, honestly, I think that's a little far-fetched conclusion right now.
Mohit, keeping it with the PSU space, any other theme that is looking attractive to you at this point in time? Because PSUs have been, the talk of the town, and a lot
Absolutely.
of these segments, sectors, and themes have rallied. So, anything that is looking, something that maybe investors can look at this point in time?
I think the theme has been played out for last 6 odd months and maybe a year if you were to go back and jog the memory. But I still think there is some juice left in the PSU banking space. That's one space which is a little undervalued, and time has perhaps comes to kind of re-rate them, not squarely at par with the private sector peers, but to some extent at a reasonable valuation as compared to what the private sector peers in this country are trading. Because look, the NPA story is extremely positive. The NPAs are down, the NIMs have been improving for these, and the loan growth is fairly stable, right? So I think the PSU banking space is something which is looking extremely attractive. One has to be very, very cognizant of what he's picking in out there. But the overall, as a pack, I think the pack still remains significantly undervalued as compared to the private sector banks in the country.